You're listening to the Doctor Is In podcast, brought to you by MartinClinic.com. During the episode, the doctors share a lot of information. As awesome as the info may be, it is not intended to diagnose, cure, treat, or prevent any disease. It's strictly for informational purposes.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm always jacked up about research, you know. I really like reading. I like reading stuff that... all the studies that I get, and some of them I dismiss because they're either not interesting or they're not relevant to us, to me. But most of them I like to read. I like to look into, and there's some, like there was a study out yesterday. At least I saw it yesterday on B12, and the high levels of B12 are not good for you. And some of you might have saw that. It was on our, I really appreciate our Martin Clinic Facebook group, private group there, because they sort of brought it up. I hadn't seen it, and I read the study. And again, guys, it's good, because I want you thinking, I want you to challenge everything, I remember the Apostle Paul telling, I think it was in the book of Acts, in the Bible, he says, I really appreciated those Bereans. They were much more noble than those people in Thessalonica, because they searched out, to make sure what I'm telling you is true. And they did a lot of searching to make sure that Paul wasn't just telling them stuff that wasn't true, okay? And guys, I like that about you guys, because you want to look at stuff. I'm trying to educate our listeners so that they're smart. You guys are smart, Medicine for years tried to hide everything. That's why you got big names, Latissimus dorsi. What is that? Who cares? It's all Latin, right? And medicine did that on purpose. They don't want you to know. And today people with the internet and social media and whatever, they want to know. A lot of people, and my generation is probably the worst, because my parents' generation and my generation, doctors were gods, never to be questioned. And I like being questioned, okay? Now, guys, this is an incredibly important study. I mean, I lit up yesterday when I read this study, okay? And it linked smoking and food, certain foods, to disease. Now, you guys get this, right? Like smoking, everybody understands it. Remember now, I've told you this before, but I'm old enough to tell you about a generation that didn't even know smoking was bad for them. I'm not kidding you. My dad. My dad smoked. My mom smoked. Okay? And my dad smoked. He smoked with his patients in his office, Like, my dad went through 4 packs of Buckinghams a day. And my mom never stopped smoking, by the way. And, my dad did. My dad went cold turkey. I think it was 1962. I was 10 years old. My dad came home and said, that's the end of my cigarette days. I'm finding out it's not good for me. What? You only found out in 1962 that smoking wasn't good for you? But it's true. Doctors, in World War II, doctors used to give, if you had a pneumonia or a cold or whatever, they give you a cigarette. Cough it out. But guys, that's what they didn't know. They didn't know that smoking. Everybody smoked, just about, right? Watch the old movies, and everybody's smoking. Just like it was, it was part of their life. Well, once it came out and people realized that smoking wasn't good for you, they stopped smoking. Not everybody, of course, right? Like I said, my mom didn't stop smoking, okay? But most people stopped smoking. The Cancer Society, this is where they did good. The Cancer Society, said stop smoking. And when people stopped smoking, they actually had a temporary dent in the cancer rates, except they've shot up again. By 1990, listen to this. In the 1970s, okay, 1 out of 20 women would get breast cancer. 1 out of 20 men would get prostate cancer. Today, it's 1 out of 4 men in prostate cancer over the age of 50. 1 out of 6 women going to get breast cancer in their lifetime. So cancer rates went down because in the 1990s, it was 1 out of 30 people temporarily. Because they stopped smoking, cancer rates went down. But this new study yesterday, it was so incredible for me because I'm going to break this down, make it simple so that you understand it. How did smoking cause cancer? And not only cancer, heart disease. How did smoking cause, if you smoked, your risk of getting a heart attack was up 100-fold? Well, obviously, smoking destroyed your blood vessels. I mean, you can, you take all these, you're smoking into your lungs, you get the lung cancer thing. But what about, like my mom, when my mom had uterine cancer, I remember the doctor saying to her, well, that's your smoking. Well, what's smoking got to do with uterine cancer? The uterus, for heaven's sakes. Well, now we know what happens smoking, and then I'm going to tie it to a food what will just blow you away, guys. It blew me away, and it'll blow you away. Okay? So think about this for a minute. Smoking, right? What is the way it makes cancer and cardiovascular disease? Why do you get, like, people that smoke have so much heart damage and blood vessel damage? What is it? It's called oxidation. There's 3 things that happen. 1, oxidation, which is running out. It is premature aging of your blood vessels, your cells. It's called oxidation, okay? Free radical damage. What's the best way to show it? Take an apple, cut it in half. What happens to it very quickly, rapidly? Oxidation. It ages. It rusts out. It turns brown. Right? You guys know that. So smoking creates oxidation. It creates free radical damage. It destroys the blood vessels. And then secondly, what it does is it creates oxidation, creates inflammation. Oxidation creates inflammation because it's damaged. So your body creates an inflammatory response, almost like a healing response. The ambulance comes to the area where there's oxidation, your body's bloodstream, because it's trying to heal the damage made by oxidation. So the second thing that happens is inflammation. And the third thing that happens is that immune response. Okay, you get an immune response, but this trifecta, what it does, so oxidation, inflammation, immune response, your body overreacts to the cigarette smoke. It's trying to heal the immune response. It creates a chemical inside. This guy says this is incredible. It creates a chemical inside your body called aldehyde. Aldehyde, ALDEHIDES. Aldehydes destroy your blood vessels. Oxidation, inflammation. We didn't know that. We knew that inflammation is at the root, is, like we used to say, at the root of all disease, but inflammation is not Houdini. What started it? Well, smoking. Okay? It creates aldehydes which destroy your blood vessels and your cells. Yes. Now we know the process. Now, Here is something that you didn't know, because if you knew it and I didn't, yeah, I know you're smarter than me, but I'm telling you guys, listen to this. Aldehydes, the same thing that happens in smoking, happens when you eat crappy carbohydrates that come from vegetable oils. This is why I'm a big guy I'm the farmer's best friend, guys. Because there is no aldehydes when you eat eggs, meat, and cheese, and even fruits and vegetables and legumes. There's no aldehydes that are formed. Vegetable oils, when you go to the restaurant, everything they cook in there, except maybe a steak on the thing, when they cook up their French fries and they use vegetable oils. They use canola oil. They use, let me give you the list. Canola, sunflower, corn oil, safflower, grapeseed, soybean oil, margarine. Oh, how stupid was that? Even the American Heart Association tells us to eat a lot of carbs. So the very thing that causes heart disease because of aldehydes that destroy your blood vessels, free radicals which destroy your blood vessels, and inflammation, these things create aldehydes that destroy your blood vessels and destroy your cells. So when you're having crackers or cookies or, unless you homemade, these things, guys, destroy your blood vessels. They destroy this. It's like smoking all over again. So a lot of people, let me bring something to you that you're going to marvel at. Today, the number one cancer is, and Pamela is saying, well, keto, but be careful with keto, okay? Because keto, I'm not that big on keto, okay? Because keto, you can have some crappy carbs in keto. You can have some vegetable oils in keto. And, you got to be careful where that stuff is made from. I'm more the farmer's best keto. Once you come out of the reset, you have low carbs, but live on what you can grow and what you can, what grows on the farm and what you can kill. Live on that stuff. Eggs, meat and cheese, nuts and seeds, fruits and vegetables, and legumes. After that, be very careful. Anything on the bad side, like your breads and your pasta and your noodles and your cereals and your, margarine and even milk. Well, milk it's because they took the fat out of it. Anyway, I don't want to get into that, okay? Anyway, so look, guys, I clean keto, yes, okay? Yes, clean keto. I get it, okay? I'm a low carb guy. You know that. Way before keto. Keto is very popular today, and I'm not against it per se. But a lot of times you're eating crappy foods on keto. There's all sorts of low-carb keto foods you can go buy, and they're keto, but they're not good for you. Just because they don't have a lot of carbohydrates don't make them good for you. It depends on how they make them. Anyways, here's what I want to get at. Okay? Aldehydes coming from smoking and crappy carbs. Now, what cancer, okay? What is the number one cancer? So what's the number one cancer what kills people the most today? The number one cancer today is lung cancer, okay? Lung cancer. Liver cancer is very common. So is skin cancer and whatever, but it's lung cancer. Now, I want you to think with me for a minute, okay? Of course, when people were smoking, lung cancer, right? It was big time in the 1960s, 70s, and then people finally stopped smoking. Well, they lowered the smoking. Not everybody stopped, but they lowered it. Their cancer commercials were very effective, right? I saw one yesterday. a cancer commercial. It scares the living life out of you. A lady talking, and she has throat cancer, and she's got, a thing. She speaks through an artificial voice box. And she looked like death warmed over, scared it's meant to scare you. Well, okay, if it works, I'll scare you. But guys, lung cancer today is still the number one cancer for people that don't even smoke. Because, I don't know what the statistics are. I'd have to look it up exactly much of the population in North America still smoke. I think it's a small percentage. Although the young people, and I'm just going to say this, you might get mad at me. Okay, you might get mad at me. But I was very much against, making marijuana legal in Canada. And it's coming in the United States too. I'm against it because we got enough problems. Lung cancer, it's a gateway drug. If they're smoking marijuana, they'll probably smoke cigarettes too. And if they smoke marijuana, you put grass and you put fumes down. This vaping is terrible. So get mad at me. I don't care. I'm just against it. Okay? And I know they're never going to change it for me. But I want to keep you healthy. So think about this. Smoking has been reduced, but lung cancer has not been reduced. As a matter of fact, it's still the number one cancer in North America. Well, a lot of people said, well, Doc, it's what we breathe in. It's the chemicals, chemicals. And, who am I to argue with that? Yeah, chemicals they cause oxidation. But guys, the biggest thing is not the chemicals. It's the vegetable oils. Yeah. Oh, when they said, don't have butter and don't have lard. Coconut oil is no good for you. Olive oil is no good for you. It's too fat, right? And palm oil is no good for you. It's too fat. Well, fat don't make you fat, and fat, nature's fat. Those saturated fats, cook with them. Make your butter. Forget how good it is for you because of the K2, but just tell you it doesn't create aldehydes. Grapeseed oil, canola oil, safflower oil, seed oils. They're cheap and they're industrialized. You could run your car on them. Your body wasn't made for them, and it's just like smoking. When you eat anything in a package has vegetable oils. Why? Because they're cheap, 1. 2, they preserve. They are a preservative. So your crackers will last for a long time. Like bread, lasts very long, right? If you leave bread out, it'll mold up pretty quick. But if you make something like a cracker with vegetable oils, it'll last for a long time in your cupboard. So vegetable oils is what, and in the 1900s, of course, in my studies to get my PhD, I had to look a lot of the history of nutrition. But if you look back into the early 1900s, our bread has changed because they used to pound it wasn't a machine, and it was a pounding of the flour to make flour from the germ and the bran, and it was pounded, and there was a lot of nutrition in there, okay? Because it was stone ground. But today it's all done where the bran and the wheat are out. And now you have an industrialized flour that isn't good for you. So that gives you, it spikes your insulin through the roof, okay? But in the oils, when they and it sounds good, vegetable oils. People went for it, hook, line, and sinker. But when they created these seed oils, it started with cottonseed oil. And they realized that, man, oh man, this stuff is so cheap. And the food industry, hook, line, and sinker, went for it. And you know what? Now that is one of the reasons, guys. You know me, how I always talk about insulin, high circulating insulin and leaky gut. And those are big causes of disease because those will give you inflammation that destroys your blood vessels. Created by seed oils gives you aldehydes, the same thing that smoking did. And what a connection. Think about that, guys. Think about that connection and how significant this is. And again, it comes back to, oh, Dr. Martin, what should I do? Well, quit eating that stuff. Don't eat that stuff. As much as you can, stay away from every vegetable oil. Stay away from packaged goods. This is why I love the reset, guys. The reset is eggs, meat, and cheese. Eggs, meat, and cheese. Live on it. It is so wonderful for you. It is so good for you. And you're not creating any free radical damage. It's like stop smoking all over again. Because you're not eating those vegetable oils at all. So be careful, even guys with the low carb foods. Okay, they say they got very few carbs, but how was it made? So you guys gotta, I want you to watch out for this. Okay, be careful with this. Okay, so isn't that interesting? Aldehydes. I bet you, excuse me. I bet you it's something you didn't know. I didn't even know it. I didn't know exactly how. I knew about inflammation, of course, and I knew about the free radical damage. I know about oxidation. I know about all that kind of stuff. But I didn't know the connection between smoking and your vegetable oils, your seed oils. They're high in omega-6, guys. This is why I am so big on omega-3. We don't get enough omega-3. And you get omega-3 only you can get them in nuts and seeds, but you're not going to get the high DHA and the EPA. You need that. That is found in the animal kingdom. Eggs, meat, and cheese. So there's always a reason for my madness, guys. Okay? Because somebody called me yesterday. You're mad. You're crazy. That's all you talk about. Yeah, I'm a sort of a one-trick pony, it's true. But guys, these things are important, okay? So, now, if you haven't joined our private Facebook group, join, please, because it's wonderful. You guys are unbelievable. The communication between each other, and if you haven't started the reset, you can start the reset anytime. Join our group and we will coach you through it with recipes, the science behind the reset. Join the group, okay? And I go in there. I go in there and do some teaching, but we got our coaches, okay? Our health coaches there, Nick and Jeanette, they're posting recipes all the time. It's wonderful. And Brandy, answering all your questions, okay? And a lot of those questions come over to me, and I'm happy to answer them too, okay? So we get involved as a community, and we support each other. And anyway, we love it. So love you guys. Talk to you soon. Share this with your friends. Remember, aldehydes, smoking, and certain foods do the same amount of damage and the same way they damage your bodies with these aldehydes. Isn't it incredible? Think about that. Love ya. Talk to you soon.
You've reached the end of another Doctor is In podcast with your hosts, Dr. Martin Jr. and Sr. Be sure to catch our next episode, and thanks for listening.